Hello and welcome to another installment of Liberty Nation's Swamponomics videocast. I'm Andrew Moran, Allen's economics correspondent. Each week, I dive into the morass of top economic news stories and fish out compelling narratives, or I retrieve fallacies that have been accepted as conventional wisdom by the swamp creatures for years. This week, the global financial markets are going cold turkey on the Lira. The Central Bank of Turkey defied market expectations and decided to cut interest rates by 100 basis points to 18% at its September monetary policy meeting. Despite the annual inflation rate closing in on 20% and producer prices soaring more than 45%, policymakers, likely following the demands of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, thought it was wise to pull the trigger on a rate cut. Sahep Kavcioglu, who became central bank governor in March after his predecessor, Nasi Akbal, was terminated, defended the move by repeating the word uttered by every central bank worldwide on inflation: transitory. Ankara argued that supply constraints and a reopening economy have contributed to the nation's ever-growing inflation, but it wanted to support the post-coronavirus economic recovery by cutting interest rates. The move resulted in yet another steep sell-off of the Turkish lira. The lira plunged 3% in a single session against the US dollar, falling to a fresh all-time low of 8.8863. The lira also plummeted against the euro, the British pound, and the Canadian dollar. The Borsa Istanbul 100 index also slumped 1%, while the yield on the benchmark 10-year bond jumped at its highest level in 9 months. Coincidentally, this was when Akbal was fired. Market observers were flabbergasted by the decision, calling it, quote, crazy and ridiculous. Tim Ash, an emerging market strategist at Blue Bay Asset Management, told the Financial Times in a blunt interview, quote, inflation is high and rising, so there's no justification for this except politics. Erdogan's gambling with the lira because he's losing popularity and is desperate to get the economy moving. This isn't a proper central bank, it's Erdogan's fiefdom. If Turkey is willing to cut interest rates in this environment, even as inflation surges, would the institution be adamant about lowering its benchmark rates again, especially if the economy goes into a downturn? That had been the fear when Erdogan canned his third central bank chief in a year and installed a government supporter. Indeed, Erdogan supports the unorthodox economic supposition that high interest rates are the cause of higher prices rather than limiting their growth. This type of thinking is what has led to the spiking price inflation over the last 20 months. Whatever Turkey is selling, the public isn't buying it anymore. All they have to do is look at their pocketbook to see that inflation is climbing, even if it means defying the Turkish Statistical Institute, the government data collecting body. And consumers' mistrust might be proven correct after a recent independent report. According to the Inflation Research Group, the annual consumer inflation rate in Turkey is about 40% rather than the 19.5%. This has perturbed Turkstat, resulting in an official complaint against the independent organization. Plus, Erdogan has blamed, quote, opportunists for sky-high inflation, promising to, quote, prevent the exorbitant price rises on the shelf. But if it were transitory, why would there need to be any government intervention? Even statistics has created intense partisanship in the emerging market economy. The country looked like it had regained its credibility once Akbal was brought in to clean up the mess of the nepotism and incompetence of his predecessors at the central bank. But all of Turkey's goodwill vanished once a stooge was installed this past spring. So, will the world go cold turkey on Ankara and the lira? If Erdogan was denying reality, global investors will deny its existence. That's it for me this week. Please read my full Swamponomics column where I dive into Evergrande in China, the Federal Reserve, and US stock market outflows. Thank you.
Who are we? We are Americans that believe in liberty. We are a project of the nonprofit One Generation Away. We are patriots who apply the founding principles to the issues of today.
And they keep moving the goalposts on us.
We are educators and commentators who love America and the Constitution. Who are we? We are Liberty Nation.